What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Jess Rockatansky at the Rockatansky Rod Shop. And we're not working on anything today because we're all iced in and snowed and it's just a mess. But I had to get out of the house, so I was just walking around, just kind of checking out everything, and felt like sitting in my old Cadillac. So I really need to get this car back going. I feel guilty about leaving it sitting so long. Anyway, I chiseled enough ice away to get in the door. And just gonna sit in here for a minute, and I found something that leads to a story that I'd like to share with y'all. It's a road story. Road stories are always the best stories. I always felt like the road has a way of speaking to you. Sometimes it hollers, and sometimes it whispers, and sometimes it sends you someone or something. And that's kind of what this story is about. Late afternoon, several years ago, on I-40 out of Oklahoma City, I'm heading back toward Hugo, and just riding along. It's early winter. It's starting to rain. It's getting cold. Mist kind of just clings to the windshield instead of running off, And old Cadillac 500, she's running good, and we're cruising along. Got a cigarette hanging off my lip, and I got a half-baked bottle of E&J in the seat beside me, riding shotgun like an old friend. Rock and roll spilling from the speakers. And that's when I saw him. It's kind of an emotional story. I'm sorry, guys. Bear with me. That's when I saw him walking. He had long hair past his shoulders. This old cloak made of like sewn together pieces of burlap. Old leather sandals. Patched together jeans. Loose button down denim shirt. And it's getting pretty cold, so I'm kind of like, I don't really pick up hitchhikers, but he's not hitchhiking. I pull over and roll my window down. I said, he has the softest blue eyes I've ever seen, I said, man, it's getting cold and it's starting to rain. You want to lift? He said. He looked at the car, he looked at me, and he said, I'll take one from you. I said, well, man, slide in. I said, I'm heading that way. I said, I'm going to be going for a ways. I said, I don't know how far you're going. He said, I'll let you know when I'm ready to get out. I said, that's a deal. Well, he slid in. I'm smoking, He said, you got an extra tobacco log I can get? Got me like, he called them tobacco logs. I said, yeah, man. I slid the pack over. Slid my Zippo across the seat. And he reaches up and he uses the lighter in the car. Got my ashtray open. He pushes that lighter. Lights his smoke with it. He said, I love that old cars have ashtrays and cigarette lighters. I said, yeah, it's pretty handy. He said, most important part of the car. So I done turned the stereo down, We started talking. I mean, we're talking about life. We're talking about the trees, the land. We're talking about how change is coming, and how much it has changed. And finally he says, you mind if I take a pull of that? I said, yeah, go for it. He took him a pull, handed it to me. I took a little pull, He put the cap back on, set it between the seat. We rode on. Well, probably better part of an hour and a half goes by, And there was this Love's coming up. He said, right up here will do. I said, all right. I pull up to the front door. He's getting out, he's gathering his stuff. I slide him a 20 over, right? I said, man, get you a hot meal on me. He said, I can't do that. He said, you've done more than you know. I said, well, you sure? He said, yeah, I'm okay. He said, I do have something for you. And he hands me this coat hanger. Right? I've never told this story out loud. He hands me this old bent up coat hanger. It wasn't quite as rusty back then. It was more white. But I'm looking at it. He said, someone may need that. I just nod and I'm looking at it for a beat, and I look up. And he's gone, you know. Car door's open. Him and his bag is gone. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, I'm going to go in and get me a cup of coffee. And in the store, I didn't see him. And I asked the clerk, I said, did a guy come in wearing this cloak? She said, I don't see no one in a cloak. I said, okay. I didn't think no more about it. I got back in the car, you know, I head out, get my radio back going because it's quiet in the car. You know, the hum of the engine, the sound of the rain. So got to get my radio going. It's getting late. Wind's picking up, getting colder. Shifting out of the north. I ride on till I'm getting low on fuel. This Valero comes up. I pull in. Top her off, you know. Because I'm about to the Indian Nation Turnpike now. And exit, get my fuel. Pull up to the door. I go in, get a cup of coffee, sit at the table for a minute. Come back out. Slide back in Maybelline. Fire up. We're headed out. I'm going to exit back out on the interstate, and there's this Oldsmobile Alero pulled over to the side. And like a silver 90s Oldsmobile. Alright, well, there's this middle-aged woman out there, and it's got this little girl with her. Oh, shit. I pull up behind them. I got out, and I said, ma'am, y'all okay? Y'all need any help? You know, you broke down? She said, no. She's crying. She's like, no, I locked my keys in my car. And this little girl's cold. I can tell she's getting cold. I said, honey, won't you go sit in my car? I said, I got the heater going. I said, well, I said, this your mom? She said, yeah. I said, go sit in my car and warm up while me and your mom try to figure this out. Lacey, you're going to help me? I said, yeah, I'll help you. So me and her, we walk around that car for a better part of 30 minutes trying to get a window down, trying to get a door open. You know, it's locked up good. And I'm like, well, I said, ma'am, I said, our only option is break that little back window there and try to get you in. I said, and I got some body shop tape. I said, I work a body shop. I said, I've got some body shop tape back there. I said, I can try to tape it up from the inside and make it a little warmer on you. She said, will you do that? I said, yeah. So I popped my trunk, you know, I'm fixing to get my tire iron out and knock that window out. And this voice, it's a stranger's voice. I knew it. And this voice behind me said, Jess, I gave you a coat hanger. You did. Open the driver's side door of my car. The little girl's over here huddled up in the seat. She's getting warm, you know. I get this coat hanger out. And I'm able to get it down there and pull the lock on that car. Slid it in from the top of the door down, you know. Unbent it and twisted it around where it would work. Went in there and hooked that lock and pulled it up and got that door open for that lady. I let her and the little girl sit in my car while her car warmed up. And then make sure they got on their way. She hugged me. She thanked me. She tried to pay me. I said, no, ma'am. I said, I actually picked a guy up off the side of the road that gave me that coat hanger and said someone might need it. She said, things happen for a reason. I said, yeah, they do. She said, it's funny how sometimes things happen. I said, it is. Well, I got her on the way, her and the little girl, and I sat in my car a minute, and I was like, just taking it in, you know. Pulled it on in the drive, and I headed on home. And I've always kept this coat hanger in this car ever since then. This is one of my most valued possessions, actually. And if someone offered me $1,000 for it, I'd probably say no. But if someone ever needed it, I would give it to them. But yeah, that's the story of the coat hanger. Like I said, sometimes the road sends you someone or something before you even realize you need it or need them. If y'all have a similar story, I'd love to hear it. Stories of the road in general. Stories of the road is always my favorite stories. hit that comment section and let me know your story. PM me, I don't care. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Stay safe and warm, everyone. And if the road speaks to you, listen. We'll see you back here next time.